views may differ because we are from different places. I'm standing somewhere, you are standing somewhere, we are looking at the same thing, but just because we are not standing on the same viewpoint, our views will be different. I will see the mountain somehow, you will see the mountain somehow. I will see the mountain as the tallest thing, you will see the mountain as the widest thing, but we are both looking at the same thing just because our viewpoints are different. You are there, I'm there. Even when we are viewing from the same position, we may see different things. Zayla Talk Show with your text show host Give Zayla. I want to welcome everyone. I want to welcome, if you are joining us for the first time, you are fully welcome. I appreciate you viewing, checking us out. I hope we are able to keep you glued to our channel, glued to us, glued to what we are doing here, because we are fixing the relationships. This is an educational kind of channel where we educate each other about relationships. We educate each other about relationships, about life events that are in relation to us and our partners. So today we are tackling the topic that's expectations in relationships. Expectations in relationships. A lot of us, we expect different things. We expect a lot of things. Some expect difficult things, some expect small things. But expectations in relationships can be a tricky something. It can be very tricky. Although it's a small phrase, it's a minor statement, it's a minor word, it's just a word, but it's tricky. It's very tricky. Expectations in relationships. There are expectations everywhere. There are expectations in the workplace, expectations of an employer, and expectation of an employee, and there are expectations everywhere. The expectations of citizens, and there are expectations of the government from the citizens. There are expectations everywhere. So although these expectations are everywhere, I want to talk about only expectations in relationships. Expectations. One thing you must note is that expectations must be communicated. Uncommunicated expectations can lead to bleeding, excessive bleeding. You can bleed and cry and regret because your communications were not communicated. The next person didn't know what you expected. You assume they knew because you know what must be done, but your partner didn't know what you thought he must do. So expectations must be communicated, and communicated clearly, because it's not as easy as you think. This can be tricky because of our cultural differences. It can be tricky because of our religious background. It can be tricky because of our environmental upbringing. We grew up in different places. For somebody from Limpopo and somebody from KZ, and we grew up in different environments. For somebody from Gauteng to somebody from Northwest, we grew up in different environments, and what we are exposed to drives our expectations. It forms part of what we expect in relationship, what we are exposed to. A person who grew up with both their parents, and a person who grew up with a single parent, their expectations won't be the same. a person who grew up with none of their parents and a person who grew up with both their parents, they cannot be having the same expectations. So before we are clear about our expectations, you have to understand the background of your partner or your future partner. You must understand the background, their background, so that you can understand what it's behind their expectation or behind their behavior. Because we behave differently, we behave in a way we behave because of what we are exposed to. The culture we are in have a lot of influence on our behavior. Our level of education has a lot of influence on our expectations. Somebody who has a PhD and somebody who never went to school, they cannot expect the same thing. They cannot expect the same thing, and they cannot express it the same. So we express our expectations differently. And our partners, they have a task. They are given a task to understand our expectations and to also communicate their expectations clearly. If you want your partner to open the door for you, don't assume that your partner must know how to open the door for you or must know to open the door for you just because he's a man. No, some men, they never saw that when they were growing up. They never saw it in their family, they never saw it in their neighborhood, they never saw it in their kasi, they never saw it anywhere. So for them to do what they've never seen, never saw it in their kasi, they never saw it anywhere. So for them to do what they've never seen, it will take grace. Maybe they might have seen it in the social networks, that will be good for them. But if they never seen it in any social network or on any TV set, it means you are in trouble, because you'll have to explain that to them so that they understand, and they understand even the significance behind it. Because although they may understand, then that they have to open a door for you. If they don't understand the value of opening a door for you, then they will say, why not open for yourself? We both have two hands, why not open for yourself? Because to them it doesn't make sense that they have to open a door for you when you have two hands yourself. So you will have to explain that, darling, you open a door for me because this shows me that you love me. You open a door for me because it makes me feel that I'm a queen. You are treating me like a queen when you open a door for me. And then if they understand, it's fine. But if they don't understand, don't force it on them, because they were not exposed to that kind of setup. Let's talk about this thing further. Let's say your expectations are that your partner or your boyfriend or your husband must give you a monthly allowance. People are different. Cultural men, they believe differently. They practice different lives altogether. It's not like the city guys. The city guys, they understand the allowance, they understand the monthly allowance. Somebody from KZN may not understand why an allowance, why I'm funneling 30 million and then give it to you, why I'm funneling you share, like, you understand those kind of things. Like, but city guys, for them, they understand that language. But although they may take it a little bit too much overboard, because it may tend to be a hook for them to attract women, because some of them, they are not taught well. They are not taught well. City boys are troubles. Most of them, they are. These are just assumptions. These are just a stereotypical kind of view. Some of them, most of them, they are mama's babies. So although he may give you money, but you will be dealing with a mama's baby in the long run. That one from KZN, he may not give you money, but like it's a true man. Like, it's a true man. So expectations must be communicated. Expectations must be communicated. Don't just expect your husband to go back to school with if you've never communicated with them. Just because your girlfriend's husband or your girlfriend's what went back to school, don't expect your husband to do the same without talking to them. You must talk to them that, Dali, this is where we are going. We're going back to school, both of us. We want to create a legacy for our children. It must be communicated clearly and with a sense of agency, with a sense of understanding that he may not approve, and him not approving does not mean that he's a bad husband or he's a bad partner. Your views and my views may differ because we are from different places. I'm standing somewhere, you are standing somewhere, we are looking at the same thing, but just because we are not standing on the same viewpoint, our views will be different. I will see the mountain somehow, you will see the mountain somehow. I will see the mountain as the tallest thing, you will see the mountain as the widest thing, but we are both looking at the same thing just because our viewpoints are different. You are there, I'm there. Even when we are viewing from the same position, we may see different things. You may see a lot of thorns when you look at the mountain. I may see a lot of rocks when I look at the mountain. You may see a lot of grass when you look at the mountain. So just because we are looking at the same thing does not mean that the outcome will be the same. So yeah, guys, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and let people know that we are here in the house. Zayla Talk Show with your text show host Eve Zayla. I want to welcome everyone. I want to welcome, if you are joining us for the first time, you are fully welcome. I appreciate you viewing, checking us out. Joining us for the first time, you are fully welcome. I appreciate you viewing, checking us out. So our expectations must be communicated well and clearly. Just because I said something does not mean the next person understood it the way I meant it. To prove this, you can give a task to two individuals and tell them the same message, but when they get to a certain person or the next person, both of them, they were told by one person and they were told the same message, but both of them they will say a different version to the other person. Both of them, they have the same message, but their version of the message will be different. That will show you that communication it can be tricky. So what must you do in this situation? You must know your partner. You must understand your partner. Does he understand things when you tell him to do things? Does he understand when you say no that you mean no, or when you thinks that when you say no you mean no but force me? Or you say to him, you say things that you're saying no but you mean not now, or you mean no but you mean yes, no. So you must know your partner. You must know your partner. Expectations are dangerous. They're dangerous. Don't just assume that your partner must take you out on Fridays. It must be communicated. It must be planned. And there's no one who must I'm still continuing on the topic of expectations in relationships. Expectations. How do you communicate your expectations? That matters a lot, because that is a point where you can I can tell from a distance that your expectations are going to be met, or your expectations are going to be ignored, or your expectations will never be met. So how do you communicate? How you must communicate? These are just mere tips, because relationships have different dynamics. People communicate in their relationships differently. So these are the tips for the typical kind of relationship where communication is clear as crystal, or clear as crystal, depending on who your English teacher was. So how do you communicate your expectations? It must be as clear as possible. It must be very clear. It must be very clear. No assumptions, no generalization, no paradox, no parables, no must be as clear as possible. When you want him to pick the child after school, it must be clear. Honey, please pass and pick the child at the crèche or wherever the child will be. Clear as possible. Don't beat about around the bush. Don't talk something when you meant the other thing. It must be as clear as possible. No riddles. Don't use riddles. Don't use sign language. Don't use body language. Women, they love using body language. Don't use body language. Don't use your hands. Don't use your eyes. Don't use your legs. Don't use, just communicate verbally. Verbal communication. Don't use gestures. It must be verbally understood, so that even when you ask, they are able to respond to reply clearly in a way that you can understand. What must you do when your expectations are not met? This is what you must do. You must find out why your expectations were not met. Ask them if they understood. Ask them if they heard what you said. One way of making sure that your expectations are met is by saying something and then the person say it back to you. There you are assured that you will get the outcome that you are expecting. So if it's not met, you can even play as a game with your lady friend, if you are a lady, or a gent friend if you are a guy, and ask and say the same thing and find out if they understand the way you meant it, because communication is not for everyone. So your expectations, if they are not communicated clearly, it can be very painful. Can be very painful, because you will just assume that he didn't want to, or assume that he was not interested, or assume that he's taking you for a ride, he's taking you for granted, or assume that you are not the priority when you are the priority. But the problem is not the priority or the topic at hand, but it's you who can communicate properly, who can clearly articulate your expectations. So you have to articulate clearly. Thank you guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the time we've shared together. See you next time. Bye.